Could Manchester City potentially win it all this season? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, in today's video we are talking about Manchester City. We've done a few of these videos in the build-up to the brand new Premier League season that is to come. We talked about Arsenal and Aston Villa and Liverpool, and in all of those videos we talked about the season that was for those teams last season. We talked about their pre-season preparations and a little bit about the expectations, demands and potential that this forthcoming season has to offer. We're doing this with a select number of teams, and today is the day of Manchester City and Pep Guardiola. We're talking about this team as being one of the best we've seen in modern times. In terms of the Premier League era. One of the best. Last season was phenomenal. Last season was historical. Winning the treble was absolutely amazing. And this season could potentially open up even more trophies for Manchester City. Competing in multiple different competitions, it begs the question of whether or not this Manchester City team has the potential, has all the minerals, has all of the attributes and everything else going for it to maybe have a clean sweep in terms of competitions this season and maybe win the entire lot of them. Could that potentially happen this season? Or I have seen some people begin to question Man City this summer and maybe question whether or not they are as strong as last season, given what they have managed to do in the summer transfer window so far. Is that more wishful thinking and hope, more than actual logic and actual historical relevance and reference? We'll have to wait and see on that one. But we're going to be discussing it all anyway. We're going to be talking all about Manchester City, the season that was last season, their pre-season preparations, and the season to come as well. But before we go any further and talking about all of that, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always incredibly greatly appreciated. And of course, I encourage you to get involved in that comment section as well. Do get involved down there in that comment section. I'm sure you have a lot of interesting thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it in regards to Manchester City down below. So do get involved down there. Would love to hear from you all. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Let's talk Manchester City. First and foremost, let me just say this. If you're a Manchester City content creator, it must be dead boring. It must be dead boring because everything is happy and it's all fine and it's all sunshine and rainbows in this beautiful Garden of Eden that Pep Guardiola has created during his reign as manager. Like, nothing ever bad really goes wrong. There are minor things here and there in terms of maybe, I don't know, maybe say a bad result here and there. You may drop points, you may draw, you may lose from every so often, every few months or so. You might have a bad day at the office. You may have like a one-off bad result. But otherwise, it's all happy. And it's all fine. And it's all sunshine and rainbows. And it's all beautiful. And it's all happy days. And you're off in the sunset singing along to whatever song you sing or whatever. And it's happy. And it's beautiful. Like I say, you know, it's pretty much, oh no, we've won again. Oh no, we've signed another big name player for a big price. Oh no, we've won another trophy. Who'd have thought it? That's just how it is as a Man City content creator, a Man City fan. And honestly, it's dead boring. There's no bad times. There's no anguish. There's no turmoil. There's no meltdowns. There's nothing that goes on that's bad in terms of that club. You look at any other club down the years. You look at Arsenal for the past decade or so, with the exception of the past couple of years or so. You look at Tottenham entirely. You look at Manchester United down the years. You look at Liverpool from time to time. There's meltdowns. There's anguish. There's anxiety. There's bad times. There's turmoil. There's everything that you can think of. There's a whole roller coaster of emotions there. For Manchester City, for the most part, it's plain smooth sailing. For the most part. The only thing that really happens is the odd occasional spitting of rain on this kind of metaphoric, kind of plain sailing picture I'm trying to paint. Either way, it must be dead boring. Last season may have thrown a little bit of a different challenge to Manchester City in terms of obviously no one was expecting Arsenal to do what they did and to be as good as what they were. But Arsenal were City's closest challengers, and obviously Arsenal were leading the Premier League title race for a large part of last season. But as the expectation and the level of demand grew as the season wore on, they crumbled under that pressure. And Manchester City, having been there for a number of years, doing, being involved in title races, completing title races, and obviously winning plenty of silverware against the likes of Liverpool, for example, for a number of years, they shifted up through the gears, particularly when it mattered most toward the end of the season, shifted through those gears, held their nerve, and of course went on to win the Premier League title. And then, of course, came the FA Cup, and for the first time in their history, a Champions League title. The one trophy that has been eluding them throughout the entirety of this whole entire project that obviously Manchester City have been under since their takeover. It's the one trophy they desperately and definitely wanted. Pep Guardiola managed to lead them to that Champions League title for the first time at the expense, of course, of Inter Milan in the final last season. It was a brilliant season. It was a historical season. It was a phenomenal season as far as what Manchester City were concerned. And like I say, it just showed you that this team are incredible. This team are phenomenal. This was meant to be their season of transition. Bringing in Erling Haaland, a different type of player to what Pep Guardiola has been used to for the past couple of years. He was meant to be slowly bled into that team and slowly bled into the Premier League. And yet he hit the ground running instantly, broke Mohamed Salah's goal-scoring records, absolutely annihilated it, and obviously helped spearhead Manchester City's challenge in all of those competitions that they eventually won. If it wasn't for, I believe, Southampton, it could have been an infamous quadruple had they obviously not been knocked out of the League Cup. But they also lost the likes of Raheem Sterling, Gabriel Jesus, Alexander Zinchenko. And many people were claiming last season that this is going to be a season of transition and maybe City are there for the taking. Look how that turned out. A year later, some people are saying that again. City have already lost the likes of Riyad Mahrez and Ilkay Gundogan this season, just to name a couple. There might even be some more names to leave City between now and the end of the transfer window. The likes of Bernardo Silva. Well, Bernardo Silva's constantly linked with a move away from Manchester City every transfer window. So is that really much of a surprise? But he's been linked with a move away from the club. Aymeric Laporte has been linked with a move away from the club. There are a couple of other names that may be also linked with moves away. Pep Guardiola, we know, likes to keep things fresh. He likes to keep things rotated and likes to keep things motivated. With that being said, many people are claiming that maybe City aren't as strong as they were last season and that maybe they are there for the taking this campaign. Again, to my point, we were here last season saying the exact same thing. We were saying that City looked vulnerable. City may have changed too much. City may have gotten rid of too much. Guardiola always has a plan. Guardiola always is one step ahead of the game. Guardiola's over there playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. That kind of thing. We know that. I wouldn't buy too much into this whole City are weaker this season or City are vulnerable this season. They may not win everything, but they have a strong possibility of doing that. And let's face it, this season they are involved in 6 competitions. Whether it's seeming as the insignificant ones in terms of, the Community Shield, which is taking place tomorrow at the time of recording. Whether it's the Super Cup, whether it's the Club World Cup. Oh, actually 7 competitions, isn't it? Because of the Club World Cup. It's Community Shield, Super Cup, Club World Cup, League Cup, FA Cup, Champions League, Premier League. 7 competitions that City are involved in. 7 opportunities for silverware. And honestly, 7 trophies for City to win, to go on to have an unbelievable, phenomenal, unbeatable season. That could be the reality come the end of this. They could actually win it all this campaign. And honestly, if you're talking about other teams in this scenario, you'd probably argue that they wouldn't have the capability of doing it. They wouldn't have the squad, the brains, the know-how, or anything else to go along with it. With this Man City squad, you'd give them a stronger chance more than any. It seems unlikely, and it probably will be unlikely, that they will go on to win all 7 of these competitions. But you wouldn't put it past them if they did. You wouldn't put it past them whatsoever. Refreshing the squad is one thing. Keeping things motivated and change and keeping things in transition is another. Pep Guardiola is the master of that. And Guardiola showed last season how much he could change, how much he could think on his feet, how much he could adapt, how much he could evolve, and how obviously he managed to stay one step ahead of everybody else with obviously the change in formation, bringing John Stones into a defensive midfield role, playing 3 at the back with inverted fullbacks. That was him evolving. That was him changing his style of play. That was him changing the game, keeping ahead of everybody else. So, in my opinion, it's don't read too much into it, because I'm sure Guardiola has a plan. I'm sure Guardiola has his reasons, and I'm sure Guardiola is already a few steps ahead of everybody else in this, unfortunately. I want to see someone else win the Premier League. I'd love to see Liverpool win it, obviously, being a Liverpool fan, but guess what? I don't think that's going to happen this season. I'd love to see someone else win it. I'd love to see City have a bad season in which they don't win nothing, but that is unlikely to happen again, with obviously what we know of City and what we know of their squad currently. They've just gone out and signed Josko Gvardiol for massive amounts of money, strengthening and reinforcing their defence. They've already signed Mateo Kovacic this season, or this summer, should I say. They probably will add more. They'll probably get rid of more. It's still going to probably be a big summer for Manchester City and for Pep Guardiola this season. Refreshing the squad, keeping things fresh, keeping things motivated, and obviously having a lot of silverware to play for this campaign is all coming together to form the huge potential of a monumental, historical, and absolutely phenomenal season in the making for Manchester City. And it potentially could happen. It really, really could. I'm not going to pay too much attention to their pre-season form. I know their pre-season form hasn't exactly been great, but let's face it, what we know of City from recent years is that City never start the season off in the best way. They always slip up here and there, and then when it comes to the crunch time, when it comes to the big pressure, when it comes to the expectation and the demand just turns up a few notches, that's when City shift through the gears, and that's when City handle that pressure, and they go on to, of course, see other teams crumble, and that's when they take advantage. So I'm not going to read too much into their pre-season form. Their summer transfer window has so far been one of change, one of transition, and of course they are looking for the here and now as well as the long-term future. Like I said, Gvardiol and Kovacic are for the here and now as well as for several years down the line. They'll probably add, like I say, they'll probably add more. They'll probably get rid of more. As we said, there are a few players that are on the chopping blocks, it seems, or seemingly open to moves away from the club, or the club are seemingly open to moves for them away from the club. I'm not honestly going to read too much into it. I genuinely think that this City side are still to be feared, still a force to be reckoned with, and the scary potential of them maybe winning everything this season is absolutely frightening. Absolutely frightening. Will they actually do it? I don't think so. I still think they'll slip up. They could even slip up tomorrow in the Community Shield. Like, the Community Shield 9 times out of 10 is something that maybe the underdog sort of wins. City are hit and miss in that competition. But overall, like you say, you wouldn't put it past them. If they did go on to win tomorrow, you then wouldn't put it past them to go on to win the Super Cup. And then to go from strength to strength as it goes on. They'll be participating in the Club World Cup for the first time, obviously after winning the Champions League for the first time. You wouldn't put it past them to, of course, go on to win that competition. The League Cup, they were bitterly disappointed to lose out on it last season at the hands of, like I say, I believe it was Southampton on penalties. And then, of course, retaining the FA Cup isn't out of the realms of possibility. Retaining the Champions League, you've got to give them... you got to make them one of the favourites to win that again this season, especially with the way that they did it. So, well, I wouldn't say exactly comfortable, but obviously looking at their squad and looking at their manager, they'll have to put them as being one of the favourites to win that. And then as far as the Premier League goes, we could be seeing a four-peat. We could be seeing City go on to win that Premier League title for the 4th time in a row. There is a huge and scary possibility of that happening. So the question now remains, how do you stop this City side? You've got to come out the blocks early. You've got to get out the blocks early and you've got to stay in front. Arsenal did it last season, but they crumbled when the pressure really hit towards the end of the campaign. We need to find a team that can have the same start that Arsenal did last season and manage to handle the pressure when it gets tough towards the run-in, the final 10 games of the season. That's where Arsenal crumbled last season. Maybe Arsenal could maybe go again this season and maybe they could actually keep their nerve this time around. But it's going to be a massive ask. It's going to be a massive ask. And obviously when you're asking a team to do that against a team that's been there and done it so many times in Manchester City, in recent years, of course, we've seen them win it in 20-minute spells on the final day of the season. We've seen them lead Premier League title races for so long throughout the campaign. We've seen them take the advantage halfway through the season, whatever it may be. You name it, you name the scenario, City have been there, done it, got the t-shirt and the winners' medals to prove it. It's going to be a massive ask for anyone to try and stop this Manchester City force. And that is why they are strong favourites to go on and win the Premier League title, the Champions League, and whatever else there is to play for this season. And like I say, with who they have and what they have at their disposal in terms of their squad and their squad personnel, it's an absolutely terrifying machine that Pep Guardiola has at his disposal right now for Manchester City. So we'll wait and see, obviously, what happens, but a clean sweep in terms of every competition that City are in this season isn't out the realms of possibility and could certainly happen. And I wouldn't pay too much attention to those that are saying that City are vulnerable and City are much weaker this campaign. But those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of Manchester City this season? What do you make of Manchester City in pre-season? What do you make of Manchester City's demands, expectations, potential for this upcoming campaign? Could they win it all, or are they in fact weaker than maybe what I am not giving them, or maybe I'm giving them too much credit, or maybe much overrating them? What are your own thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings? Would love to hear them all down below in that comment section, because I'm sure they'll all make for interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever the hell it will be. Cheers, guys. Have a good day.